Clark all night tonight.
Are you talking about my high school experience? Clark connects! Court pass. Pull back to Clark. She will launch and bury a three.
Cynthia Cooper and other people like that have something to say about whether she's the greatest player, but she's absolutely phenomenal.
Here, Caitlin Clark just dancing with the basketball, going to her left, stepping into it.
She is the Steph Curry of women's basketball.
Some games are remembered for their high scores or nail-biting finishes, but then there are those games where one player was at her merciless best, and today, that player is none other than Caitlin Clark. These are the top moments when Clark didn't just beat her opponents, she humiliated them.
6 on the shot clock. Clark, a deep three!
Just step back, going right, I may add. It's usually step back, going left.
Let's kick things off with her epic showdown against Michigan. Yeah, you know the one. Caitlin Clark wasn't just hot that day, she was on fire. Michigan didn't stand a chance. It wasn't just a game, it was a total takeover. Oh no, Michigan fans, brace yourselves because this one's gonna sting.
Clark down. Are they gonna get the ball up in time? Clark for the win!
Yeah! Clark went off, dropping a cool 40 points, sending Michigan home with an L so big they're probably still recovering. She didn't just defeat them, she dominated every aspect of the game, strutting off the court like it was just another day at the office.
I think just our flow on offense has gotten a lot better, and like you saw, I think last game I took 12 shots, AB took 11, Kelsey Mitchell took 11, so it was very balanced overall. I think Liz took 8, Edub took 9, so when you have that balance, it's a really hard matchup for the other team. And I think especially because we're making shots at a very efficient.
And when Caitlin transitioned to the WNBA, the stakes were even higher. The challenges? Everywhere. But did that slow her down? Not in the slightest. For her grand entrance to the WNBA scoreboard, Clark went full-on superhero mode. Picture this. Coast to coast, charging down the court like she had rockets strapped to her feet. She met DeWanna Bonner at the rim, but Bonner? She might as well have been a traffic cone.
It was necessary, I want this challenge because she's such a great player. She's not your typical rookie, but in order to, win the championship, you gotta guard the best player. So I'm up for the challenge.
There was no stopping Clark. It was her moment. In one swift, dramatic play, she made it crystal clear. She wasn't just here to play, she was here to dominate and leave her opponents humiliated. These aren't just basketball moments. These are Caitlin Clark moments, and the best is yet to come. Hands up, Boner. They could only watch as they got Clarked. It's becoming a regular scene for this 22-year-old Iowa native. Caitlin Clark has a target on her back every time she steps onto the court. But if you think that phases her, think again. Take her battle against the Phoenix Mercury, for example. Sophie Cunningham thought she could throw Clark off her game with a little shove while she drove for a layup. Big mistake. Clark didn't just shrug it off, she turned it into an and-one clinic, scoring the bucket and drawing the foul. Classic Clark. She takes what you give her and flips it on its head. That, my friends, is what we call the Caitlin Clark effect. She's unstoppable, especially when the game gets rough. Before we continue, could you do me a quick favor? If you enjoy this content, please like the video and hit subscribe. It's free for you, but means a lot to us. Thanks for your support. Now let's get back to the video. Speaking of the Clark effect, let's talk about the lesson she gave Allen Iverson. Picture this. Clark decides it's time for Allen to take a courtside seat, basketball style. She launched a deep three, and all Iverson could do was sit back and watch. Sure, the shot didn't fall, but hey, Carrington still got a front row ticket to the Caitlin Clark shooting clinic. Then came the showdown with Sabrina Ionescu and the New York Liberty. What's better than breaking records? Doing it right in front of someone who's set a few themselves. Clark didn't just play that night. She decided to drop a masterclass in record breaking. Securing a triple-double, something Sabrina couldn't pull off in her rookie season, Clark left the crowd roaring. As for Sabrina, she could only watch as Caitlin rewrote the record books. When the stakes are high, Clark doesn't just show up, she owns the moment. And if you think her savagery is reserved for the WNBA, let's take it back to her Iowa days, where she basically handed out invitations to her shooting exhibitions. Against South Carolina, Clark dared Raven Johnson to shoot, giving her what felt like a Grand Canyon-sized amount of space. Johnson hesitated. Big mistake. Clark waved her off like she was dismissing a fly. I mean, that's next-level disrespect, but it's as savage as it is entertaining. We can't talk about Clark without bringing up her rivalry with Angel Reese and LSU. Remember the 2023 NCAA Finals? Reese hit Clark with the "you can't see me" taunt and flashed that championship ring in her face. That stung, no doubt. But if you know anything about sports, you know karma's a real one. Fast forward to 2024, the rematch was on. Iowa versus LSU, Clark versus Reese. And Caitlin? She came locked and loaded. She lit up the scoreboard with a staggering 41 points, dished out 12 assists, and drained 9 three-pointers. A one-woman wrecking crew, Clark contributed to a jaw-dropping 80% of Iowa's field goals that game. It was like the UCLA game all over again. LSU had no answers. There's that iconic moment where Clark shook her defender and Reese rushed over to help. But all she could do was stretch out her arm in vain as Clark's three-pointer sailed through the net. Talk about a moment of helpless spectatorship. And Haley Van Lith? After chasing Clark all over the court, all she could offer was an emoji-worthy expression as another Clark special rained down from deep. And don't think the refs were safe from Clark's reign of terror. After hitting a deep three, she got slapped with a technical for taunting. Iowa had already scored more points than most teams do all game, but Clark wasn't having it. As her coach erupted in a fiery debate with the ref, probably about to earn a technical of her own, Clark stepped in like a seasoned diplom. Calmly but firmly, she guided her coach away from the chaos. She might as well have said, "Relax, coach, I got this." Not 5 minutes later, Clark swiped the ball, created her own encore, and pulled up for a step-back three that sent the crowd, and maybe even the ref, into a frenzy. And let's not forget her iconic showdown against Maryland back in her Iowa days. It was one of those moments when you just knew something special was about to go down. Clark caught the ball way beyond the arc, gave a sly pump fake, and sent her defender on a quick flight to nowhere. With the lane wide open, she nailed her signature three-pointer with a satisfying swish. That's Caitlin Clark, a walking highlight reel. Whether she's dishing out disrespect on the court or rewriting record books, she does it all with a smile, and maybe a little savage side-eye. Keep watching. The Clark effect is just getting started. But what if I told you that Caitlin Clark once single-handedly dismantled an entire team? Yeah, you heard that right. In basketball, it usually takes an entire squad to overcome the Giants. But sometimes, all it takes is one Caitlin Clark. Cue the 2023 Final Four. South Carolina, unbeaten with a 36-0 record, was steamrolling everyone in their path, until they ran into Iowa, and more specifically, into Clark. By the time the dust settled, South Carolina's perfect record was no more. Their only loss in 2 seasons came at the hands of one extraordinary player. Clark wasn't just a part of Iowa's game plan, she was the game plan. In the first half alone, she scored or assisted on 31 of Iowa's 38 points, accounting for a jaw-dropping 75% of her team's total. Let that sink in. And while she didn't notch a triple-double, she didn't need to. Her 41 points were more than enough to torch the Gamecocks and leave them staring at the scoreboard in disbelief. That's right, Caitlin Clark cooked an entire championship contender, all by herself. South Carolina's nearly flawless 2-season run ended with a massive asterisk that reads, "See Clark happened." And while we're at it, let's not just talk about Caitlin Clark, the scorer. We've got to shine a light on Caitlin Clark, the playmaker. Her court vision is as deadly as her shooting. Need proof? Let's rewind to her game against the Sparks. As the Sparks defense took a quick nap, Clark was wide awake, threading a laser-precise pass to Monica Czinano. The entire Sparks squad could only watch in stunned silence as the ball zipped right through their defense, landing perfectly for an easy score. She wasn't just scoring, she was orchestrating. As she continues to shine in the WNBA, her knack for shattering records is nothing new. Let's rewind to her epic game against Michigan. Clark was just 6 points shy of breaking the NCAA women's scoring record. And how did she go about it? In classic Caitlin Clark fashion, with style. She didn't just break the record, she smashed it. She opened the game with 8 straight points for Iowa, sending a clear message. This wasn't going to be just any record-breaking night. And then came the dagger. A jaw-dropping three from nearly half court. No layups, no easy buckets. Clark wanted spectacular, and she got it. That shot? It'll be replayed for years to come. This girl doesn't need any warm-up time to rise and launch. Take her game against Ohio State, for example. With her feet firmly planted at the logo, Clark cashed in a three-pointer that left her defender in disbelief, probably wondering, what did I just witness? And it wasn't a fluke. When defenders crowd the paint, Clark has a different plan. With a hold my beer attitude, she steps up, and boom, another logo three. No hesitation, no second thoughts, just pure confidence. It's almost like the farther she is, the deadlier she becomes. And when she faced the Sun, she didn't just cook the entire team, she incinerated them. Not with a pan, but with a bomb of a shot from deep. As the Sun scrambled back on defense, Clark was already in another time zone, launching another logo three that sent shockwaves through the arena. The shot was so deep, she might as well have needed a passport. This is the Caitlin Clark experience. Whether she's breaking records, cooking entire teams, or raining down logo bombs, she's doing it all with zero fear and maximum swagger. Keep watching, because Caitlin Clark is just getting started. And imagine this, you're Richards from the Washington Mystics. You've just checked into the game, feeling fresh, ready to make an impact. But the first thing you experience? Getting floored. Yup, welcome to the league, rookie. But wait, there's more. As you scramble to your feet, you find yourself face to face with the nightmare herself, Caitlin Clark, pulling up from the logo. Before you can even blink, the ball's already through the net. Welcome to the WNBA, brought to you courtesy of Caitlin Clark. If you thought that was bad, just wait until you see what she did to Samantha Whitcomb. Clark had her on skates, in a dance of dribbles, fakes, and lightning-quick drives. Whitcomb was sliding so much that even the court seemed to approve with every screech of her shoes. Clark doesn't just break ankles, she makes the floor sing. From record-breaking shots to heart-stopping playmaking, Clark continues to prove why she's one of the most electrifying players in basketball history. Whether she's locking down on defense, shaking off defenders, or sinking those impossible threes, she's out here making history, every game, every play. If you enjoyed witnessing these jaw-dropping moments of Clark's dominance, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss out on any future content. This is only the beginning.